So where should I start? I do think there is a message in everything that is going on, and that always amazed me how God always aligns the worship, the participations into a single message. Um, I guess I'll start by telling you a little bit of myself. Some of you know that I grew up in Guatemala, in Central America. Some of you already know my dad wasn't around, right? And because he wasn't around, my mom couldn't be around because she was busy working all the time trying to sustain the family. So that meant that when errands had to be made, it was up to me and my siblings to get them done. Uh, so I was maybe 10, 11, when I started riding the bus by myself, into town, going downtown, and trying to go to the market, trying to go to X office, trying to go to meet X person, to pick up something for my mom or to give them something from my mom. And and I remember how desperate I could feel sometimes because it's not like I was born knowing the streets and avenues of, downtown Guatemala, right? I had to learn them. And most of the time it was like, okay, so you're going to take bus number 3 or bus number X, right? And you're going to get off at whenever they call park, this park, that's when you get off. And then you need to, then you need to go to such and such street. So it was a little nerve-wracking, right? To, okay, is this the park? No, it's not. It's still a little bit long way to go. And you get off, and then you start looking at the signs and the streets in the corner. Okay, so that one's that one's that. So I guess I need to go that way. And you walk 2 blocks that way, and oh no, it's the opposite way. And have you ever been physically lost? Right now it's kind of hard, right? Because as Jimon was saying, we have Google Maps. You can just say, hey, I'm going this way, and it'll tell you where to go. If you make the wrong turn, it will tell you how to fix your route to get there. But some, you guys don't know about it, but, years ago, it was just a piece of paper. This is the address. That's where you need to go, right? With time, as I got older, I got very familiar with the city. To the point where I haven't been in Guatemala for almost 10 years, right? And the last time I went there, my sister picks us up from the airport, and she says, like, you want to drive? I was like, sure. And I tell her, so should I go this avenue, this street, this zone, and this highway? And is that the best route? And she's like, how do you even know? I don't even know, and I'm here, and how do you even remember? So I got very familiar with the city, and if I go back, I don't get lost, right? Then I got married with someone from Mexico, right? From a little town in Mexico, and we started visiting that town. And I got used to people telling me, so this business is going to be this number, this street, this intersection, specific addresses. When you go to Allende, Nuevo León, where Karen is from, those type of addresses don't exist. I mean, there is numbers, there is names to the streets and everything, but they don't give you directions like that. I started noticing, so do you know where Dr. Such and Such has his office? Yeah, so okay, so if you keep going 2 blocks that way, you're going to see a little barber shop, and then if you go a little bit that way, you're going to see this. And they start pointing you just of the businesses and the person who lives around the area. And there is no way Google Maps is going to work that way, right? You can tell Google, okay, so by Uncle Sam's shop, 2 blocks behind, it's not going to work, right? So during the last few years, we've been there many times. And many times Karen will say, okay, you need to go there, or you need to pick me up over there. And I will call her, hey, I'm over here. I don't know if it's here. Is it? Oh, no, you're still 2 blocks short. Keep going. Or, oh, no, you went too far. Come back. But now that I've been there many times, now they can tell me, okay, so do you remember that? And I got familiar to the type of instructions. Now the thing is, as Jimmy was saying, sometimes we could wish that there was like a Google Maps for life, right? When it's time to make decisions, there is no Google Maps, there is no Waze Maps, there is no, there is no do-it-yourself video in YouTube, and sometimes just it could be even more nerve-wracking to be lost in life than being physically lost. Physically lost, I think there is a way to recover. Lost in life, when you don't know what your next step is, it can be nerve-wracking. And, Saji asked me since last week to try to get ready to preach today, to share something today. And the whole week I was just wondering, what am I supposed to talk about? What am I supposed to talk about? And sometimes the way it works for me is just an idea, a concept will just come to mind, and then a few verses come to mind, and that's pretty much it. And the whole week I was just blank. Something came up for Wednesday night, and I told him, hey, I just feel like we need to talk about this, so we just talked about that. But for today, it was until yesterday morning when I was like, oh, okay. And it came in the form of Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10. And this is I think it's a very familiar verse. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Let's see, what version are we using here? New International? I guess I can switch to that. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Okay, now let me go to my notes. Okay. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. First, wisdom is not just knowing things, right? Wisdom is knowing what to do with what you know, right? It's just not stored knowledge. But I guess let's break it down a little bit. The fear of the Lord, and fear is a word that we could misunderstand a lot of times. But when the Bible speaks about the fear of the Lord, it's not saying to be afraid of God. It's just, it puts it in this way of reverence. I like to explain it as caring about what he thinks of you, trying to do things to please him. Knowledge, and now it says the knowledge of the Holy One. Other versions say the knowledge of God. Is the original word, it actually says to get familiar or to become a friend. So to become familiar with God, to become a friend of God, is understanding or results in understanding. And the word understanding is the same one than for wisdom. So becoming familiar with God, becoming a friend of God, results in wisdom. Now, when I read this verse yesterday, I said, you know what, let me try to find out what else, what's the context of the whole chapter. So I went back to verse 1, and it says, wisdom has built her house. She has set up its 7 pillars. Verse 2, we're going to read all the way on to 6. She has prepared her meat and mixed her wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her servants, and she calls from the highest point of the city. Let all who are simple come to my house. To those who have no sense, she says, come, eat my food and drink the wine I have mixed. Live your simple ways, and you will live. walk in the way of insight, and that's good. Live your simple ways. This version says, forsake your folly and live. Forsake your folly, or forsake your foolishness. And I guess let's put it together. Based on the description of wisdom, that wisdom is the result of knowing the Holy One, of becoming familiar with Him, of becoming a friend with Him. That means relationship with God is wisdom, results in wisdom. And the chapter starts saying wisdom has built her house and is inviting people over to come and join. So in other words, it's saying relationship with God, intimacy with God, has prepared a table, has prepared a house, has prepared a banquet, and it's insisting, it's calling people over to come and sit and enjoy what He has prepared for us. Does that make sense? And verse 6, it says, forsake your foolishness, and live and proceed in the way of understanding. So what is this telling me? It's saying that relationship with God is calling, and it's inviting us, is motivating us to exchange, to an exchange. And what are we giving? What are we giving away? Our foolishness. And I guess it's important to try to find out what our foolishness is, right? And that brought to my mind 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 18 to 20. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, 18. Do not deceive yourself. If any of you think you are wise by the standards of this age, you should become fools, so that you may become wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness in God's sight. As it is written, He catches the wise in their craftiness. And again, the Lord knows that the thoughts of the wise are futile. I don't know how to futile. So, what is my foolishness? What is God asking me to give up to come and sit at the table and go on living in wisdom and understanding? My foolishness, it says, that is, if I think I'm wise according to the standards of this age, right? What are the standards of this age? Well, if you want to be successful, you have to go to school. You have to get a degree. You have to get a master's, and if you can get a doctorate, that's even better. Or, well, if you want a good marriage, you need to find someone that works with you, someone that will accept you, someone that X, Y, Z. And then we have books like The 5 Languages of Love, and we have books of Christian finances, and we try to align to what makes sense in this world. If you want to buy a house, you need to save. Prepare your credit. Be good. Make sure that when the bank sees your paper, they like you. So they say, yeah, you can buy the house. Yes, you can buy the car. The standard, the wisdom of this world, right? God says, give up your foolishness and live and go on in the way of understanding. And what is the way of understanding? Relationship with God. And in this whole introduction of Proverbs chapter 9, where he says that wisdom built a house, prepare a table, mix wine. I can't avoid it, but think about Psalms 23, verse 5. It says, you prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. And how many times have you been in a position where you don't know where to go? You don't know what your next step is. The world might tell you, well, you need to do this, you need to save, you need to do, or the world might advise you in a different, in a way, but you don't know where to go. You're lost. And your situation feels almost like an enemy. Your situation feels almost like it's there to get you. And it's taking away your peace. It's taking away your joy. It's taking you away from your family, from your marriage, from your kids, from your job, from how many times has regular wisdom has that not been enough? And God says, hey, here's a table. Just give up that wisdom. Sit down and learn from me. Relationship with God, intimacy with God results in wisdom. And now, I know that when you don't know what to do, it can get heavy. Right? It can get very heavy. As I told you, my dad wasn't around. My mom was always working. And seeing what my mom had to go through because he wasn't around developed like real anger in me. I grew up real mad at my dad. I wanted to, God bless my mom because she never spoke a bad thing about him. She would always try to encourage me to, hey, he's still your dad. She would ask me, what would you do if you I was always downtown and going around. What would you do if one day you're in the bus station, you're, going around and you run into him? What would you do? Would you avoid him? I would face him, say hi to him, let him know that I'm doing good without him. I wanted to emphasize that I was good without him. I wanted to get him that gut punch. She would be like, no, don't think like that. He's your dad. He just didn't know, and don't think like that. But long story short, I meet God. God teaches me, or God shows me his unfailing love and shows me how to forgive. So I give up that anger that I had towards my dad, and now God gives me this desire of being a dad, And more than providing that my wife doesn't have to work, more than providing so that my kids have everything they need, I just wanted to be there, right? I wanted to be a dad, a husband that is there, because I knew what would happen. I had experienced what happens when he's not there. So I have this passion, right? And years go by, and, I get engaged, and I'm close to getting married, and then I get married. But these are life-changing steps that you take, right? And even though God had given me this desire to be, I didn't know how. And that was scaring me. That was very scary. And let me just grab something that I see here that I think it's going to help me. I'll get the little one. So it was like, okay, I'm engaged. I need to be a husband now, right? And you try to figure it out with the wisdom of this age. How am I going to be a husband? And you think, how am I gonna be a dad? How am I gonna provide? What job am I supposed to take? Or things are not right between her and me, or him and I, or how many times have you been in situations like that where the situation is just heavy on you and you don't know what to do, you don't know if you're supposed to be there, you don't know if you're supposed to keep fighting for it, if you need to just get out and go on running, if you need to make that decision or not, if you need to take that step, if you need to start that business or not. And you're just freaking out. And the wisdom of the world cannot help you. How many times have you been there? If you haven't, I'm sure at some point you're going to be in a point like that. And, Jesus spoke about loads and yokes. Is it Matthew 11? Matthew 11:28. And let's see. Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. 29. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, and for I am gentle, I am humble in my heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Okay, so Jesus here, it's using the example of, I don't know, mules. What are the other? Oxes. You know, that before big trucks that prepared the soil for, for sowing came around, animals were used. And you would put a yoke, a weight between two of them, and there was like a hook attached to it that these animals pull. And, usually the training method is, since from birth, they start training them. They put a little yoke on them, and they teach them that humans bring candy, humans bring food, petting, so humans are good. And, if you do what humans want you to do, that's the way. But when you have an older mule, ox, and you have a younger one, the way to train the young one is you pair it with an experienced ox mule, and they share the yoke. And the young one might want to go this way, but the experienced one teaches it, no, this is the way. This is the way. You want to get the candy, this is the way. You want to get the food, this is the way. Oh, but that it's calling, no, this is the way. So what is Jesus saying? You have a yoke on you, right? And I don't know how far into the future are you looking. I don't know how lighten your path is. Sometimes God just lights up one step. Sometimes He lights a little bit of the way. But He definitely doesn't give you the whole Google Maps route for life. But I guess where I'm trying to get to is, whether right now you're in a position where you have no clue what to do tomorrow, where this area of my life is looking very dark, and I'm asking around, and nothing that people tell me makes sense to give me rest, nothing gives me a solution, nothing gives me a fix for this, or I've tried that over and over and over, and I keep ending up on the same spot, where when the wisdom of the world, where the foolishness in God's sight of the world is not helping you at all you can do, God is setting up a table. He set up a house, a table, wine, meat, and all He's saying is, you want to sit down and rest? You want to try to figure this out? All you got to do is just take that off. Give me your foolishness. Just take it off. And just sit down at the table with me. I don't know if this is going to affect the camera, but just sit down. Intimacy with God will give you the wisdom, will give you the freedom, will give you the rest. Why? Because it's not you trying to figure out anymore. It's not you trying to hold the weight over your head. It's not you trying to swim with the weight on you. Does that make sense? He's saying, hey, just give up your foolishness, sit at the table, enjoy me, and that will give you wisdom. That will give you the solution. And I'm not saying I have 50 years of marriage, right? But I like to think that Karen is happy with me. I like to think that I'm being a good father. And when things don't feel right, sometimes I get stressed and I'm trying to, and then I remember, whoa, 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 that's not the way. It's not on me to try to figure it out. I have to pull back, say, that's not the way. God, what am I supposed to do? When maybe Karen's and I mentality is not aligning, what does the world tell you? Oh no, you need to fight for your spot. You need to defend your thing. What happens? Right? What does God say? Hey, just love her. Honor her. Oh, okay. And then things work out. And I'm not afraid anymore. So, what's going on in your life that it's heavy on you? What's going on in your life that is making you pull your hairs out of your head? Karen and I were, right now that you were talking, we were thinking about Karen's mom. I mean, I guess, I'm going to try to make the story short. I quit. God told me to quit. I quit a job, right? I thought it was going to be a short season, but it happened to be about a year and a half. During that year and a half, we get engaged. We make wedding plans. We sign contracts to the wedding venue and all of this. None of us is working, and we're just saying, God will provide. We're praying, and we're saying, well, God, we want to get married, and He says, I got you. I will provide. When we were thinking, but I'm not working, I'm not doing anything, God would say, no, give that up. I will provide. On the other side, here's Karen's mom. Oh, they're not working, they're making plans. What are they doing? What are they going to eat? And one day, she calls me in and she's, she made sure that Karen wasn't around, and she calls me in and she's like, like those movies where people are freaking out because they're so stressed that they didn't sleep for like 3 days, and that was her. She was in the living room just like, and what are you guys going to do? Are we supposed to postpone the wedding? What are we doing? And I told her, oh, this is not going to give you peace, but I don't know. And she said, it went from a 25 to a 45. And I said, well, you know what? He's not telling me what he's doing. You ask him, he might tell you, right? And she prayed. A verse came to her mind. Somebody explained it, and she had peace. The day of the wedding comes by. Everything's paid for. And she's like, I can't believe it. I am amazed. Her weight just dropped. She said, I think God just slapped me with a white glove. I can't believe it. Did it make sense? No. Can you go back to Corinthians? 1 Corinthians 3:18. Uh, 19. Oh, where did it say become fools? No, I think it is 18, sorry. Do not deceive yourself. If any of you think you're wise by the standards of... If you think you're wise by the standards of this age, you should become fools. Her mom was thinking that we were fools. What's wrong with you guys making plans? That's why she was freaking out, because to her, we were making a foolish thing. Right before that, I had no job for, when I was going to quit my job, one specific person that I shared that with, that I was going to quit my job, she said, whoa. That's not wise. You have a girlfriend. I'm assuming you want to get married. That's a foolish thing to do. According to what? the standards of what? This age. When the wedding was nearby, came to me, time to work. What did God say? Whoa, I don't want you to go look. Make a list of what you think you need. Give it to me and trust that I'll bring it to you. So I did that. I wrote what I thought I needed, and I said, God, here it is. I'm not looking for a job. People would ask me, so are you going to, because they knew, right? The wedding was around the corner. Are you going to start working? Well, I'm waiting for the right one to come. And they would give me this look like, that's a foolish thing. What do you mean to come? You should be out there looking for a job, applying, interviewing, sending your resume, right? What a foolish thing. What did God say? A friend came by, said, hey, I do think you need to take this. A job that I don't have the degree for, a job that I don't have I didn't have the experience for. God just put it in my friend's heart. This is for. Well, yeah. The day that we signed the marriage license, my friend came by and said, hey, so what's going to happen? What's the plan for work? And I said the same thing. Well, I'm waiting for the right one. He gave me a different look. He was like, okay. Almost like, I know something. Meet me on Wednesday. We go by. He shows me around. We go to eat. He says, what do you think? I said, oh, it's a great environment. He says, well, you know what? I need someone for this location, and I really think it should be you. And I still remember I told him, well, you know what? I asked him, how much do you guys pay? And I said, well, I haven't talked to my boss yet, but I think we might be able to pay you this. I mean, we talked about the degree. He said, I know you don't have the degree for this. I know you don't have the experience, but I really, really feel he was trying to convince me to take it. Because I really give it a chance. So I said, okay, how much do you guys pay? He said, well, I haven't talked to my boss, but I think we can pay you this. It was below. Remember I made a list, right? And I told him, look, I really appreciate it, but I have an agreement with God. Go talk to your boss, figure it out, let me know. I have an agreement with God. If you guys don't meet that, I'm going to have to pass. Someone would say, what a foolish thing to do. They're bringing the job in your lap, so what are you doing, right? But at least in that area, I was learning. Remember, I came from a whole year of seeing God provide, right? That honestly went against everything that I knew. All the wisdom that I had, where I had to work, remember my dad wasn't around, my mom had to work. When I came over here, it was work. If you want to eat, you got to work. And now this whole year, God is saying, whoa, relax. At the beginning, it was mentally painful for me to just see money come through. And I wasn't working. It was mentally painful. But that whole year goes by. Now I'm accepting God's favor, God's wisdom. And so he goes back to his boss. I think by Saturday he calls me and he says, hey, can you start on Monday? I said, whoa, I can, but how much? Oh yeah, I told you this. But we talked and he actually said this. Ding, 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 ding. He hit the mark. So I said, okay, I'll be there. Anybody would say I was being a fool. I'm sure a lot of people thought I was being a fool. I felt like I was being a fool, that I was being dumb, that I was doing something stupid. And up to this day, my brain keeps telling me, hey, whoa, are you sure about this? But hey, it's not about wisdom of this age. It's about his wisdom. It may seem like foolish to other people, according to the world. But again, when Google Maps is not going to help you figure out your marriage, Google Maps is not going to help you figure out how to raise your kids, It's not going to help you figure out how to be happy with your career. So we have two options. We can either do things according to the standard of this age, or we can surrender that. We can surrender the I have to figure it out and start enjoying the table that has been prepared for us, where He's ready to give us rest, where He's ready to give us consolation. Whatever you need, it's there. And whatever direction He might point you to, your brain will try to question it, just like Abraham. So how far are we going? I don't know. Is it cold? Is it hot? I don't know. Should I take clothes for how many days? I don't know. God just said go that way. But yeah, relationship, intimacy, wisdom, that according to verse 10 in Proverbs 9, wisdom is getting to know Him, getting to get familiar with Him, becoming a friend. What happens in friendship? You get to trust the person. So, relationship with God is setting a table for us to give up our wisdom and just enjoy. Sit down and let Him guide you. Let Him take your hand. Let Him share the yoke with you so that you don't have to carry the responsibility. You don't have to carry the I have to. He wants to teach us, but we just need to sit down. And that's all that I have.